So, you're not really going to be able to see this because, yeah, it's all just pitch black. But I thought maybe I'll do a video anyways. I'm camped here between Puno and Moquegua. And, yeah, like all day riding, there's basically nothing. Tomorrow I'm going to start and there's going to be basically nothing for a while. And yeah, so I'm just camped out in this old structure. But I'd gone to bed, I don't know, maybe around 7, because it was getting dark and I was tired. But I woke up and it's about 10:30 right now, and I was like, okay, it's freezing cold, but I really should get out of my tent to take a look. And sure enough, yeah, spectacular. Probably one of the darkest night skies, most stars I've ever seen.
This is the story of a bicycle ride, a ride that spans 9 months, 2 continents, and 13 countries. But it is more than just the story of a ride. It is the story of a journey that the ride is only a part of. To tell the story of this ride, we first have to go back to the beginning.
My name's Sean Henry. Last name Henry, first name Sean. 2 first names. I was born in Bahrain. It's a small little country off the coast of Saudi Arabia. Moved from there when I was 2. Lived in New Jersey for 14 years. Then lived in Switzerland for 3 years and moved to Vancouver. I've been here now 6 years or so, 6-7 years. Living in New Jersey, we lived on a dead-end street, so no cars, so I literally after school played outside all day. Big into soccer, hockey, lacrosse, kind of your typical North American sports as a kid. Baseball, yeah, pretty much played everything. Bikes were always a part of life to some extent in New Jersey. Like, you know, my parents, they tried to get us out on bike rides. Definitely nothing long though, and it was not much of a part of life. So really bikes weren't a thing for me, I'd say, until I moved to Switzerland. And I started riding to school. It was about 7 kilometers each way. And I started on my mom's Fuji. That must have been from the 80s or something. Just aluminum, drop handlebars, down tube shifters. And yeah, I just kind of started commuting to school because I figured, you know, it's a nice way to get there. And that's really for me when cycling kicked off and realized just how fun it is to get around by bike. I'm a competitive person. There's no line about that. It's plain and simple. So for me, once I get into something, kind of the next step to take it to is to compete. I think within a year of commuting to school, I found a local team in Switzerland and just started racing with them. Raced 2 years in Switzerland. Not easy at all. So I moved to Vancouver, I guess, when I was about 18 to come to university. That was back in 2014. And so I had raced for 2 years in Switzerland prior to moving to Vancouver. So when I came to Vancouver, I tried to find some local teams, but nothing really seemed to fit where I was at skill level and just, you know, commitment wise. So I ended up joining the UBC team, and so I jumped right in, like racing Cat 3, racing for UBC, you know, quickly into the men's A group for the collegiate stuff. Yeah, and I guess I ended up racing 3 years for UBC, and in my 4th year of university, instead of racing for the university, I transitioned to racing for a local kind of elite team that raced at sort of the Pro 1-2 level, and that's kind of the highest level I've ever gotten to in racing and competing. So I guess it was about 7 years of racing bikes before I kind of called it quits.
What was the experience like racing elite, at the elite level?
It's difficult. There's no denying that, yeah, more difficult than probably any other sport I've ever done. It's physically demanding, mentally demanding, dangerous. To race at that level, you can't have other priorities. That has to be the priority, and so at some point you have to decide what path you want to take.
So what changed after 2018 or during 2018?
I had raced 2 years at the Pro 1-2 level, which is, sort of that step before hopefully making it full-time pro. And I was what you'd call pack fill, right? I'm never going to win a race. I'm never going to even be top 10, top 20. I'm just there to sit in and help teammates. And I realized I'm not going to make it. And at some point, there's no point putting in the amount of time it takes. So there's that. There's also that I was going to university. I had another sort of career path in mind. I wanted to do something with the education that I had just, gone through 4 years, and so that was also kind of part of it. 2018 was the year I graduated from university, and so it was also last year I raced, and I figured, well, yeah, I plan on getting a job that ties more in with my education, and so bike racing just really won't have time. But there's no doubt I still love riding bikes.
So why this trip?
I guess you could almost say it started back in my second year of university. First term, huge course load, working part-time at a grocery store, 24 hours a week. I wouldn't say a dark place by any means, but it was a difficult semester. I was questioning why I was even going to school, and I found this guy on YouTube who was doing this crazy adventure from Alaska down to Patagonia by bike. I realized that, when I could find myself a good chunk of time, that's something I wanted to do. I wanted to go just not have anything to think about, no deadlines, because that's what school had become. It had become, finishing an assignment just to get it done, having a test just to take it. And so the idea of not having those deadlines and then being able to go on a trip was something I wanted to do, and I've always loved the mountains, and so a place like Patagonia and the Andes was something I really wanted to see, and I figured, well, why not just ride my bike there? Seemed like a pretty reasonable idea to me. Timing worked out perfectly. I finished university, I worked for the summer with one of my professors, and then I didn't have a job lined up yet, and so I figured no better time to take time off than at that point, and so I figured let's just go do it. There's something that one of my friends told me, a guy who's done some bike packing himself, and I talked to him before the trip, and one thing he said to me that is so true is that the hardest part of the trip is leaving.
Wandered aimlessly about until I heard my mother shouting through the fog. It turned out to be the howling of a dog, or a wolf to be exact. The sound sent shivers down my back, but I was drawn into the pack, and before long they allowed me to join in and sing their song. So from the cliffs and higher still, yeah, we would gladly get our fill, howling endlessly and shrilly at the dawn. And I lost the taste for judging right from wrong, for my flesh had turned to fur, yeah, and my thoughts they surely were turned to instinct and obedience to God. river, like a river on fire. But you better be sure if you're making God a liar. I'm a rattlesnake, babe. I'm like fuel on fire. So if you're gonna get me, don't be afraid of what you learn.
I lived in the U.S. for 14 years, and so it's it's familiar to me. It feels like home, and so that was a nice transition, because of course I had all these learning curves of bike packing to learn, but at least I didn't have to learn the culture that I was in. I already knew what the U.S. was about. I knew the language, so it was a nice way to ease into it for sure. So that first month through the U.S. was a great way to learn all the ins and outs of bike packing without having to worry about the cultural aspect to where I was. There's pros and cons to having a bike racing background when you're trying to go bike touring. The pro being that you're familiar with riding a bike, that's not a worry, but the con being that you can take things too fast, because that's your mentality as a bike racer, is to see how far and fast you can go. And that's kind of, I guess, what happened in the US, was that I just wanted to ride big days again and again and again. And so yeah, the US only took me a month to get through, and I probably went a little too quick and maybe didn't enjoy it as much as I could have. Out of the US, that's what I started to realize, is that I need to slow things down a bit to enjoy the trip and not just have it be about riding the bike. Crossing the US-Mexico border was a huge step. I've never been south of the US. I've never been to Latin America. So there was many unknowns there. Starting the trip on day one, there was nervousness that quickly subsided, and then that nervousness all came back, I guess, when I made that transition from the US to Mexico, because it's a completely different culture. And I had no clue what I was in for there. And so yeah, I guess that's when sort of some of the more memorable moments started, for sure.
dying, but I'm scared of living too fast, too slow. Regret, remorse, hold on. No, I gotta go. There's no starting over, no beginnings. Time raises on. Just gotta keep on keeping on. Gotta keep on going.
Now riding in the state of Durango. Yeah, I left Sinaloa, I guess a couple kilometers back. And yeah, still sitting around 2,100 meters right now.
What is wrong? I try to keep on keeping on. Yeah, I just keep on keeping on. I hear a voice calling out for me. These shackles I made in a town to be free. Be it for ease, be it for love. I won't take
Ice skating in Durango City. Interesting.
I've woken up in a hotel room. My worries as big as the moon. Having no idea what or where I am. Something good comes with the bad. A song's never just sad. There's hope, there's a silver lining. Show me my silver lining. Show me my silver lining. I hear a voice calling out for me. These shackles I made in a town to be free. Be it for ease, be it for love. I won't take the easy road. I won't take the easy road, the easy road, the easy road. Oh, I won't take the easy road, the easy road, the easy road. Oh, show me my silver lining. I try to keep on keeping on. Show me my silver lining. I try to keep on keeping on. Show me my silver lining. I try to keep on keeping on. Show me
After Mexico came Central America, and then had to take a plane between Central and South America. And the big thing with Central America is it's a lot of small countries, and so you're only ever spending a short amount of, well, again, because I was going a little quick, you're not spending a whole lot of time, and so it was this process of like constantly wondering what the next country is going to be like. There might be a hiccup at the border, or if the next country you get to, where again, unfortunately, you always have a lot of these bad, connotations because of what, a lot of media portrays, and so there's more worry that comes in there. Fortunately for me, on my trip, always subsided quickly, and what I found instead was that the people of these places are extremely friendly.
Just here in Guatemala. Camped at a restaurant last night. Had some dinner as well, good food. And yeah, today we get to climb up this valley road. So it should be nice. Rush hour traffic here in Guatemala City. Yeah, it's a big city. Maybe not my favorite, but it's alright. trucks waiting to get over into Costa Rica. Lush green forest here of Costa Rica. Just actually cycled over a bridge where you could look down and see a bunch of crocodiles. I think I counted 15.
Ay no, no así. Tengo ideas muy claras.
Bahía Ballena. It's the whale beach.
No controlas cómo va. Ay no, no así. Yo no soy aquel que va a poner bombas debajo en tu cama. Estalla, prefiero dar lucha en mis actos ínfimos, pero que buscan conciencia tan simple como cuidar mi tierra.
And so yeah, Central America had that real quick transition, and then South America for me was just sort of the that final frontier, going through places like Peru and Argentina that just were so wild, in the sense that you'd go several days between towns, and that ability just to be alone on the road is a feeling like no other. Not to mention the mountains. I can't forget about that. That was a big part of the trip. The reason for it was to see the Andes, and so making my way to South America, where the Andes are, was an incredible feeling.
Descended about 2,000 meters from Bogota in Colombia. Pretty warm at about 35 Celsius in the jungle. Not bad. Climbing here in Colombia. Not too high at the moment. I think 700 meters. But this climb seems to be a popular one for the local bike racers. Seen quite a few of them out now. Rainy day in Colombia. Just climbed up to about 2,300 meters, and now I get to drop down again, which is nice as long as the road quality stays half decent. We'll find out. So another update. Yeah, I've been walking for about 5 kilometers. As you can see, it's like it could be rideable. Definitely rideable without all the gear and stuff, but with all the gear, yeah, it just puts stress on the bike, and it's probably not much faster to ride than just to walk. So that's what I've been doing. Just enjoying it, I guess. I don't think I have too much longer until I'm back on the pavement. At least that's what someone just down the road told me. And then we'll be going a little quicker again. But yeah, this is what they're calling Highway 45. Clearly a slightly different standard to the previous sections of Highway 45. But yeah, you can see there's some nice forest, and at the moment it's not raining, so that's a plus too, I guess. Climbing here in the forests of Ecuador.
Why do I deserve the signs to feel bad
Leaving Quito behind.
about you?
And yeah, that is Cotopaxi.
case. I did not surprise you.
The Pacific Ocean here in Peru. Yeah, it's all right. Looks the same as how it looked in California, and how it looked in Oregon, and how it looks, well, maybe not Vancouver.
You amplified in the sound, justified in the way you make me breathe. Magnified in the sound, anatomically true. That you don't need me.
I've always loved the mountains, and so a place like Patagonia and the Andes was something I really wanted to see. The mountains, I guess I can't forget about that. You know, that was a big part of the trip. The reason for it was to see the Andes, and so making my way to South America, where the Andes are, was an incredible feeling. That's the thing too, is like, I don't know how much it comes through in some of the footage, but it can be the smallest things that either bring you like ridiculous joy, or the smallest things that frustrate the living hell out of you, right? Like, you know, like having some like small mechanical that on any other given day wouldn't be an issue, but because you just had a long day, it's that much more frustrating. Or a long day of, you know, riding into a wind that just, you have no other direction to go. That's the way you have to go, and so you have no choice. Well, you do, but you don't. But then the smallest things of, like, you know, seeing like, you know, some sort of wildlife like run by, and maybe because you haven't had any human interaction for a little while. Run free! Take me down.
was the feeling at the end of the trip, those last couple weeks, and especially the last day?
Mixed emotions for sure. On one hand, yeah, I was a little sad to think that it was coming to an end, because being on the road in that kind of lifestyle is incredible. Mother Nature made it a little easier for me to not feel as sad, because I was riding straight into the winter of South America, and so nights were frigid, to say the least, and so it was slowly becoming a little uncomfortable with the setup I had, and so in some ways coming to the end was like perfect timing. So those were the final weeks, you know, this on one hand not wanting to finish this trip, and on the other hand having these elements that kind of made it nice to be finishing the trip.
I don't wanna wait anymore, I'm tired of looking for answers. Take me someplace where there's music and there's laughter. I don't know if I'm scared of dying, but I'm scared of living too fast, too slow. Regret, remorse, hold on, oh no, I've gotta go. There's no starting over, no new beginnings.
Well, this is what I'm gonna call my fin del mundo, end of the world. Yeah, I followed Highway 9. It turned from pavement to dirt, but it's actually really smooth, and with like hardly any weight on the bike, it's really not a problem. So I followed that along, I guess another 12 kilometers or so, and then it's kind of started to turn more into a beach than a road. So I'm gonna stop here, have some of my bread and my water, and then head back. But yeah, this is kind of the end of the road in Chile. I think just about as far as south you can get, unless you like start taking ferries to other islands and whatnot. But yeah, I'm definitely glad I did this today.
Woken up in a hotel room, my worries as big as the moon, having no idea who or what or where I am. Something good comes with a bad, a song's never just sad. There's hope, there's a silver lining. Show me my silver lining. Show me my silver lining. I hear a voice call.
So, back in Vancouver. Yeah. Just got in like an hour ago, got the bike, built it up. Seems like it's okay. And gonna ride back to the Hayward's house now. It's like, I don't know, 10, 15 kilometers at most. So, nice weather here, like just below 20 degrees and clear skies. And let's see if I can remember how to find my way home 8 months later. But yeah, it feels good to be back.
What was your biggest takeaway from this trip?
My biggest takeaway. Well, totally unrelated to bikes. I guess, you know, the biggest thing is just people. People are incredible. You know, it's maybe a little cliche to say, but you know, humanity at the end of the day, it's good, right? Like, I went through a lot of countries that, again, like I mentioned, are often portrayed in the, you know, to North Americans as being unsafe, as being unfriendly, and it was the exact opposite what I found. You know, people are willing to bring you into their homes, they're willing to feed you, they're willing to hand you water as they drive by. You know, people are trying to help people, and that was a amazing thing to see on the trip. Yeah.